Anyway, so that paper will be I'll be marking it, and so you have to give me some time to mark it, and will be given back to you. And so today I think so just to forget about we are having enough of the second lesson. Then second lesson right? Enough, but enough keyword. There's a small part remaining. Okay, there's a practical to be done. One small practical remaining from the second lesson, but I think we'll do that next week. We'll do that next week. Yeah, a small practical from the respirometer. Okay, so we'll do that next week, but don't forget to bring the practical book from the second lesson. Harry, don't forget to bring the practical book from the second lesson next week. Nathang. Okay, so we have to do a small practical from the respirometer, rate of respiration. So we'll do that next week. Harry. Today, so just to take a fresh start, we'll move on to the third lesson, evolution and diversity. Harry. So I'll solve problems. Online people, anyone who doesn't have the tute. Our evolution and diversity tute. It's on the way, will be delivered. Okay. Okay. So both tutes I'm sending right now to the Zoom chat. So refer them for now until you receive your proper tute. So check whether in your tutes also all the pages are printed, any unclear images. Check any blurry ones, excessively blurry ones. Okay. Any pages missing? Excessively blurred, unreadable. If you want, you can exchange. Too blurry. Unreadable. Get it changed before you start writing. Okay. Yeah. Blurry. Check this. Anyone else? Shape, ne? Yes. Blurry. First page. Blurry. Yeah, the tissue is there. Better? You can use my copy. I'll take a blurry one. Yes. Too bad. No, I think the issue is there. Sure. Anyway, okay. Right. So third lesson, na? Evolution and diversity of organisms. So now listen. Okay. Online people are back. So you wrote the exam independently. Okay, that's fine. Right. Be carefully upload your papers. Okay. And if you have friends on the Saturday group, do not share. Hurry. Okay, the third lesson is going to be a bit of a long one, Hari, because how I try to teach it. Okay, the third lesson is going to take more time because I'm going to be covering a big part of the fourth lesson in the third lesson as well. Hari, plant form and function is going to be covered. A large part of it will be covered in this third lesson, that is plant reproduction section. Okay, so plant reproduction will be covered in this lesson as well. Therefore, we are going to take some time. So, you will understand, you might feel like, okay, the third lesson is taking a bit long when you are talking about with your friends, but you will understand in the fourth lesson, there is a big part that is going to be covering, we are covering in this third lesson itself. Okay, so, and I mean the second lesson was mostly, as the name says, it was mostly biochemistry, no? We were start doing mostly reactions, energy productions and all these sort of interactions between certain molecules, right? So, by the third lesson we are moving on to some pure biology, not some let us say related to chemistry related biology. Okay, so we are going to move on to some pure biology, and that sometimes could be really interesting, sometimes could be a bit let us say overwhelming because of the content you have to study. Okay, so if you go through the tute, what I am trying to do is trying to keep it as interesting as possible so that you can organize the big amount of information you have in the resource book into a studyable, nice to look at note. Okay, that is the main goal. Otherwise, you can just study the resource. Got it? That's the main goal. Into something you want to go back and study. That's what I want you to. That's what I want this lesson to be. Correct? So you have to keep that in mind as well. Always, keep in mind, if you keep the interest on the subject, you will be able to study it. Otherwise, you will give up on it. There is a toxic cycle. If you give up on it, marks will drop. When the marks are dropping, you don't like the subject more. Then you don't study it again. Then marks will further drop. You give up on bio completely. So, you have to break the cycle at one point. Keep the liking that you have for bio at the same level. Then right? If you have any amount of liking remaining for bio, try to keep it, maintain it. Right? Otherwise, it's going to be a cycle of hating bio, and I won't say it, but failing bio. Okay, right? So 26 people, they just finished the bio paper. Okay, so what does that mean? You have exactly 2 years remaining. So 27 people have 1 year, and you guys have 2 years, and January the 29 batch is going to come. Right? So you are second year. So time flies, right? So try to then slowly become a bit serious, right? I wasn't telling you anything, telling you to study 5 hours every day earlier. Even now I am not telling you, right? At least 1 hour, right? At least 1 hour, 3 hours study per day for the 3 subjects. 3 hours day, 4 hours. For me, maybe 45 minutes is enough. Put more effort into physics these days. Projectiles yes? No? Projectile started. What's the summary of it? The summary of all projectiles is, if you send it 45 degrees, it will go furthest. Okay, projectiles, right? Anyway, so rotational motion, all these things. So do all the questions you can find. So I am telling you, more than bio, put more effort into physics these days, particularly happy. Bio set physics bag. No, it's not like that. You can see many famous physics teaching people are also now medical graduates, no? Right? So physics, if you learn it simply, you can teach it simply, and you can get a very good day pass. Right? So I have a colleague who has 2S, 1B, B for bio in medicine. Right? So physics, he thinks he has the best. He got his Z up by the physics mark. Yeah. So B for bio, I will not, because for us, the highest Z score is for physics. Usually the highest Z score is allocated for physics. then usually bio, second place, third place chemistry for us. Least contribution can, if you got 3 A's, no issue, right? But the contribution wise, it's going to be mostly physics for you, for your IZ score, right? Even this year, we think it's going to be physics mostly Z score contributing, because many students didn't get the bio syllabus completely covered. Next, first type students, many of them didn't get the syllabus fully covered before the exam. So many issues were there. 2 months they were in trouble, but right, there wasn't any solution given. So the exam was held very exactly at the correct date. So second and third shy people got a bit of benefit. First shy students were got into trouble. But so according to the structure we are going to follow, you don't have that worry. Even if I had to stop the class for 2 months, still you will go to the exam with the syllabus covered. 2 months, 3 months, even if I had to stop the class, you will get the syllabus covered. Okay, so the plan we are going for 27 batch, I'm finishing actually 2 months before, because I started that class actually after they getting their results. For you guys, I'll be able to finish minimum 3 months, before the exam. Okay, without any extra class. We'll have some seminar here and there, right? Seminar here and there, but no extra permanent classes. Without having extra permanent class, one thing, I can't come to Negombo 2 days. Okay, no, that's one thing is, if you follow a proper structure, we don't have to put extra classes. Alright, you can go to extra classes for physics and chemistry, no need for bio. Alright, because if you follow a proper plan, there's no problem with covering the syllabus on time. Anyway, alright, so come back to the third lesson. What is it called? Evolution and diversity. Online people, can you hear me? Yes. So forget about the paper now. Of organisms. Right. So why do we need to pay attention to this lesson? Why? Why do we need to pay attention to any bio lesson? Because of the A-level paper, right? So you have to write a paper. So based on the paper structure from evolution and diversity, and also if you are including plant life cycle part into this lesson, minimum including plant reproduction, 4 MCQs every year. 4, it could be up to 5. Let's say 4. 4 MCQ are going to be there. 1 full SCQ is going to be there. 1 full SCQ you can say. Okay, from the third lesson, evolution. And so in the evolution lesson, you have so many other elements. Mostly plant form we are taking, and some things from animal form. 5th lesson now also technically coming under evolution and diversity. So I'm going to be doing those as well. So technically 1 SCQ and 1 full essay could be there. Could be, right? So essay, I think you have options. You can choose from a 6 and write only 4. Then optionally, there's a short note question. There's a short note question. You know that in the short note question there are 3 questions within the short note. Yes. So 1/3 of a short note could be there. You can have 1 short note topic. So what is the question weight? 4 MCQ means 4 marks, 1 SCQ means 5 marks, 9, 1 essay means 7.5. 9 and 7 point, let's say 7. Yeah. So that is 16. 16 and 1/3 of a short note means 1/3 of a essay question. So let's say 2 more marks, up to 18. Yes, 18. We'll round it off. 20 marks depending on the MCQ weight. Yes, 20 marks out of 100 could be from this lesson. Right? Got it? Yes. So that's why it's such a big lesson, an important lesson, right? That's how you need to sort of let's say start to respect the different lessons. Respect is based on what? Paper weight. Right? Paper that's how you respect a certain lesson. So the 5th lesson is going to need your most respect. Up to 45 marks are going to be from the 5th lesson. Right? So that's what I recommend a person. I mean, if I have a student who's almost at the failing level, and I can't tell them to cover the entire syllabus. No, what I tell them to do is, if you are at a failing level, 1 to 5th lesson, that's enough. Forget about the remaining 5 lessons. That's what I say to a person who wants a C. Even you can get a B from 1 to 5 lessons. Yes, you can go up to a by chance you can go to a B pass with just 5 lessons in the 10 lesson this syllabus, out of the 10 lessons in the syllabus, right? That's how important these early lessons are, right? So this is how important the third lesson is. We are going to go in an organized way. As usual, we are completing short notes in the diagram tube and we are doing questions in the question tube. Okay. So we'll come to the resource. Okay, we'll take a small look into how we begin the lesson. Take out the resource books. Okay. So third lesson. Page number 72, right? Page number 72. Okay, let's read. Theories of origin of life and natural selection to analyze the process of evolution of life, origin of life on earth. Okay, so before you talk about, so as people studying bio, we are only concerned about earth. Why are we only concerned about earth? Because that's the only planet there's life, no? So biology is a study of life. So we don't know any other planet to study yet. Ambunama syllabus get even more, it'll get even bigger. So anyway, we are more concerned about where life began, the point in the history of the universe where earth began, and then in the earth how the signs of early life appeared. But before that, you need to know small things about how the universe originated. Small things you need to know. So what are the theories? What are the theories that you know how the universe originated? Yes. From a Big Bang. Yes. Anyone who watched the movie Theory of Everything balate? No? Theory of Everything balate? All right. The Stephen Hawking movie? No? Okay. Homework. Balan. Got it? So I always tell you, watch these mind stimulating movies. Put the phone away and watch some good movies. Still you have time. Maybe 2 movies per week. Good ones. Not brain rot. Watch some good movies. And okay, I don't know about games. So maybe it's good to keep your brain stimulated, but better than that, movies are better. Watch some good movies. So Theory of Everything, watch it. So there, not there, you know basically. What do you mean by the universe? What do you mean by the universe in a philosophical? What do you mean by the universe? What do you see? How do you live in this universe? There's a space, no? We live in this space, no? What are the 3 lines of, what are the 3 dimensions of space? Then if I take this board, what are the dimensions of this board? There's a height and a length, no? 2 dimensions. So there's a x-axis and a y-axis. But if you want to make it 3D, how do you make it 3D? By drawing another axis into the board or coming out of the board, no? Z-axis. So that is just space. Space has 3 dimensions. We exist in space. There's another 4th dimension. Can you even imagine a 4th dimension? Can you imagine 4th? Can? Okay. Only equations are there. There's another dimension. What is it? Time. Time. Time is the 4th dimension. So for us, time flows. Time flows in what direction? Online people, time flows in what direction? Slowly. Okay. Time flows forward. For you, time flows forward. Yes. So together with space and time, these are the this is how you get what we call as our universe. 4 dimensions. Right? Time flows relative to us. I mean, we conceive time as going ahead, no? Getting close to finishing time, maybe. Time flows ahead, right? So there was a point in the, I mean, so there's a timeline of the universe. So we say the universe is slowly expanding. There's a theory, right? The universe is getting bigger. Okay. So there was a point in the history of the universe where you can say this expansion began. Right? The universe is getting bigger as we are speaking. Right? So there was a point in the universe where there was no expansion or the expansion was zero. A single point where space and time were one. What do you call that? Space and time were a single thing. So we call it a singularity. Bio class. Okay. Singularity. It's a singularity where space and time were one. Then, so that is the point that we can suggest, because we don't know whatever happened before this. Right? Meeta Kalingune, we don't know whatever happened, because we can't see. We can't observe before what happened, before this singularity. We only can see what is happening afterwards, right? So we say there was a massive explosion, out of that came all the things that made the universe, galaxies, planets, stars, from this single point there was a big explosion, blah blah. Okay, right? So as from that single point onwards, the universe started to form, and our galaxy formed, then our solar system formed. Before our solar system formed, our sun was formed, then around our sun the planets formed, therefore you got a solar system. In that solar system, the 1, 2, 3 third planet is us. Right? Okay, so that's all you need to know. This is just the introduction. Right? So let's come to the resource. Right? Come to the resource. Condition of Earth before life. Online people don't watch Theory of Everything now, okay? Then class again. Okay, right? Anyway, right? So Earth and other planets of the solar system were formed about 4.6 billion years ago. Highlight that. So the first part of this lesson is some time, let's say you need to memorize certain points in time where certain things happen. $4.6 billion years ago. So at the same time, take out the diagram tube, turn to the first page. First page, top diagram, condition of Earth before life. So we are going to do, so you can, if you go through the tube, you are going to see that kind of small fill in the blanks worksheets they will be there. Okay. So you have to, using the knowledge in the resource, we are going to fill those kind of things. Okay. So let's read. We are reading the paragraph in page number 72. Okay. At the beginning of the solar system, planet Earth was being bombarded by chunks of rocks and ice. Highlight. What were you being bombarded? Chunks of rocks and ice. So there are several theories that okay, so life could have arrived on one of those chunks of ice. There could have been simple cells on the chunks of rocks that were bombarding the Earth. Okay, so it could have been that way. Pre-formed life as a nice package you got from somewhere else in the universe. Or scientists have discovered there were some conditions there were some conditions that were there on early Earth that could have made life possible from scratch. Again, from the basic building block, you could have made living cells here on Earth as well. Right? So one possibility, okay, life arrived in those chunks of ice, maybe, but even if anyone else didn't send those early cells, we could have made them here on Earth locally. Right? So that's what we are going to see, how local origin of life began on Earth. Keep reading. First atmosphere was probably thick with water vapor along with various compounds released by volcanic eruptions. Highlight atmosphere thick with water vapor. So our earth was very hot, Ned. So as the chunks of ice got here, they evaporated and you got water vapor. Are Then there was a lot of volcanic eruptions happening. Why? Because the core of the earth was very, composed of lava and everything. So due to the pressure, so many volcanoes were there and they were constantly erupting, right? So out of those volcanoes, so many things are coming. One other volcanic eruptions, nitrogen and its oxides, carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and a little oxygen. Can you highlight? There's a list. Sound is not clear sometimes. When I was below the stage. Yes. How is it now? Better? Better, right? Still no? All right. I think now you are experiencing it properly. Okay. Now better, ne? Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. How about now? Better? Okay. Okay, keep reading. The atmosphere turned out to be a reducing one. What do you mean by a reducing atmosphere? That means the atmosphere had so many compounds that could release its electrons so that other things on the earth could get reduced, right? That means they accept electrons so that the atmospheric compounds are able to give electrons, ne? Reducing atmosphere. Got it? So highlight that the atmosphere turned out to be a reducing atmosphere. Okay, turned out to be a reducing atmosphere. Later Earth cooled down. Water vapor condensed into the ocean. So early oceans were formed. So the formation of early oceans was such an important step. Okay, because the oceans later turned out to be the place where life arose. Okay, so that's why there are certain, not planets, moons in our own solar system, particularly in the Jupiter. There are certain planets containing, we say, lots of large quantities of ice. Underneath the ice there could be liquid water. What's that moon? Is it Europa or something, right? Jupiter has a moon, right? Read about it. I think there's another sci-fi movie called 2001, A Space Odyssey. Have you watched? It's a journey to Jupiter, I think. It's a very boring movie called 3.5 hour movie, right? Okay, it's like it's a fever dream එකක් වගේ, no music, there's a movie. හරි 2001 කියලා. ඒක නම් බලන්න එපා, it's too long. Okay, 2001. Anyway, so liquid water turned out to be, or the ocean turned out to be the place where life arose. Okay, important step. Much of the hydrogen escaped into space, right? Because hydrogen is a low density gas, no? So it will, at the first chance it got, it went out. Okay, because in our current atmosphere, you know, hydrogen concentration very low. Okay, volcanic eruptions, lightning, extreme UV radiation, hydrothermal vents and alkaline vents, along with the Earth's reducing atmosphere, favored the synthesis of organic molecules essential for the origin of life. Highlight what are the places: volcanic eruptions, lightning, UV radiation, hydrothermal vents, alkaline vents. So there was it was not a very accurate experiment, right? If I just quickly explain it, right? What they did was they tried to mimic the origin of life artificially. The process that took billions of years, some scientists tried to replicate it. Okay, so what they did was they took two glass globes, okay, right? That they named as the earth and the ocean globe as well as the atmosphere. right. So, they were connected into one system, right. So, this was atmosphere. Right. In the atmosphere, so many energy releasing things were happening, such as what, lightning, UV radiation, those kind of things were happening in the atmosphere. So, what they did was, in this atmosphere globe or the glass sphere, what they did was they discharge high voltage electrical sort of discharges, sorry, high voltage. This is the atmosphere. So, here they had the ocean with water, and there they usually heated it. The ocean, they heated it, right. So, they were constantly heating it into high temperatures. They were trying to mimic the early oceans, right. So, this was the ocean sphere, right. Then they ran this experiment for several weeks and days to see whether they could mimic how biological molecules originated. So, in order to make a cell, you need the building blocks, no? You need basic things such as the basic amino acids, basic nucleic acids, right, basic carbohydrates you need. They wanted to see whether without any sort of any, I mean, without getting cells from the other parts of the universe, if life was possible by alone in on the earth, right. Can you make a living cell purely based on all the processes that was happening on earth? That's what they wanted to mimic, right. So, we will see how accurate this experiment was. Let's keep reading. Favor the synthesis of organic molecules essential for the origin of life. These simple organic molecules then polymerize to form macromolecules such as proteins and nucleic acids. Highlight: simple organic molecules polymerized. Further, the formation of self-replicating organic molecules made life possible or not. Highlight: self-replicating organic molecules. Self-replicating organic molecules. Okay. So, what we can do is come to the diagram to it, page number 1, there is a top diagram. There are several boxes there up to page box 8, right, online people. Let us complete. First one, Earth and other planets were formed about, right in the space, yes, 4.6 billion years. Keep use the words billion, million carefully, okay. 4.6 billion years ago, BYA, hurry. At the beginning of the solar system, Earth was being bombarded by what? Nuclear missiles, no, right? What was it? Chunks of rocks and ice, chunks of rocks and ice. Chunks of rocks and ice. The first atmosphere was probably thick with what? There is a space before the, on top of the box there is a space, ne? Probably thick with what? Can water vapor. On the top of the box you can write, right? Probably thick with water vapor, along with various compounds released by volcanic eruptions. Sorry. So, what are the, if you take like the gas mixture coming out of a volcano, what do you have? Yes, gas mixture coming out of a volcano. Nitrogen and its oxides, neither. So, NOx, nitrogen and its oxides. What else are there? Carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, hydrogen, little oxygen kila gyan, it's oxygen, hari? Not a special type of oxygen, hari? Okay. Carbon dioxide, there's a one numbers, ne? Fill in the blanks. Nitrogen and its oxides, carbon dioxide, methane, CH4, ammonia, NH3. Better write the name in letters. Sorry, yes, letters. Okay. Hydrogen, H2, and oxygen. Mention there was a small amount, little amount of oxygen. Because you will see drastically the oxygen concentration started to increase after a certain point. Not yet. Are the earth came with little oxygen. Later we started to produce oxygen biologically. Okay. carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, hydrogen. This list will be asked in structured essay. That's why I am giving. Okay. Alright, number 4. That atmosphere then turned out to be a reducing atmosphere. Ne? Put in the write down under the box number 4. It turned out to be a reducing atmosphere. Right? It turned out to be a reducing atmosphere. Next, in the same one, later Earth was cooled down and the water vapor condensed into the ocean. You can follow the diagrams. Follow the diagrams. Water vapor condensed into the what? Ocean. So you got an ocean now on this earth. Earlier it was all volcanoes. Now you have some water. So that was the beginning of this cooling down. First, this cool down became too much. That's how you got the ice age. Right? The cool down became too much. Right? So earlier the earth was swinging in on two directions. It's too hot, okay. Then it became too cold. Now we are in this nice middle state where it is the best for what? Maintaining life. Very soon it's going to go towards the too hot side. Then again it will come back to the too cold side. Right? That's how this cycle continues. Right now the earth is getting warmer and warmer. Okay. Then there will be another ice age, according to scientists. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So where are we? Then much of the hydrogen escape into the space. You can see hydrogen leaving. That's hydrogen. Right? That's hydrogen leaving. Yes. No. Right. Hydrogen leaving. Right. 6 volcanic eruptions. You can see all the list. Harry. You can see all this list of things happening one after the other. There's a page now, sort of the diagram number 6. Volcanic eruptions are there, lightning is there. You can see there's a bright sun, so that is UV radiation. Hydrothermal and alkaline vents. Where do you think you have those? Under the ocean. Deep ocean. Hydrothermal means usually hot water springs under the ocean. There are hot water springs. Alkaline vents means they are usually releasing very basic things, carbonates. Yeah. Along with Earth's reducing atmosphere, favor the synthesis of what? Organic molecules. What do you mean by organic molecules? Carbon containing. Organic non carbon containing. Because I keep on telling you, if you are living on Earth, what is your base element? Carbon. You are carbon based. Correct? Different planet aliens, if they come, they might be based on some other element. Correct? But you are carbon based. Right? Okay. Right. 7. These simple organic molecules then polymerize to form what? Macromolecules. Such as what? Proteins and nucleic acids. Okay, you can see there's a polypeptide chain like something, no? Yes, there's a polypeptide chain. 8. Further formation of self-replicating organic molecules, because so it took like billions of years to form these macromolecules. If they get just destroyed, then useless, no? Evolution is going to stop there. So they later gain the ability to copy themselves, self-replication. Okay, they were able to copy themselves. If you want to copy a molecule, what do you need? You need some sort of a copying machine. What are the any machine in a cell? What are any machines? Any sort of reactions are done by what sort of machinery? Enzymes. So out of those organic macromolecules, simple enzymatic molecules are also forming. So that's how these molecules are able to self-replicate, copy themselves. Right? Okay, so that first paragraph is over. Clear? Any questions? Okay, so we will continue in the page number 72. So now what do you have? Where are we right now? We have basic biological, basic organic macromolecules are there and they are able to replicate themselves. So that is simply the introduction. Okay. So now we are going to go into a theory, okay, into a theory that is the currently accepted theory of how from basic organic molecules complicated organisms like the kingdom Animalia and then mammals, humans started to form. Okay. So that is explained by the theory that is called biochemical evolution. Sorry, biochemical evolution is the theory that is currently accepted. That means from simple chemical processes life arose. Chemistry gave life to biology. That's the theory, right? As the name says, biochemical evolution. Right? Okay. So biochemical evolution has several steps. Okay. So that's what we are going to write down. In page number 1 there are several there is some space, no? So that's what we are going to write there. So as usual I'll give you the note first, then you can manage the space and write down. Okay. So I tried to leave more space in this new tutor. You will see 29 people, I leave more space. Okay. Let's see. Let's read. Okay. Direct evidence for life on early Earth comes from fossils of microorganisms that are about 3.5 billion years old. 3.5. So, what does that mean? What are they saying indirectly? That means oldest life forms are how old? Right now, the oldest fossils that they have found are how old? 3.5. So, that's what we consider as the origin of life. Life originated how long ago? 3.5. Highlight that. So, those are actually earliest prokaryotes. Prokaryotes means what? Simple basic cells without much organization. Observations and experiments in chemistry, geology and physics. Highlight the fields. Highlight the fields. Chemistry, geology and physics have provided evidence for the appearance of first living cells. They can ask you what were the fields where observations and experiments were done to see the origin of life. Okay, first living cells. Right, right? Combined maths or okay, right? We only needed chemistry, geology and physics. Geology is also an applied chemistry. Right? Okay. The theory of biochemical evolution arose from the hypothesis based on chemical and physical processes on early Earth. Okay. So that's the theory we are studying right now, biochemical evolution. Emerging force of natural selection could have produced the first cells through a sequence of 4 main stages. So what is natural selection? We will discuss deeply later. Right. So for now, you need to know the 4-step process where you got the first living simple cells. Okay. So what are we learning right now? Biochemical evolution. Right. Theory of biochemical evolution. So keep in mind all these steps, even though we write down on one page, took millions and billions of years to occur. Right? So you need to appreciate that. In your first page in the tute, I have given you this sort of a pie chart. Can you see? I have given this sort of a small pie chart. There is actually an interesting diagram. Online people, can you see this one? Yeah. That is actually you have compressed the history of the earth into 60 minutes, again 1 hour. You have compressed all this 4.6 billion years of history of the earth and solar system into 1 hour. Compress kalati. Then you can appreciate how much time each of those steps took. Can you see? So from origin of the solar system until the first cells appeared, you have around maybe 6-7 minutes. Okay, can you see? So that means it's billions of years, ne? From 4.6 to 3.5. Can you see? Prokaryotes, no wait, prokaryotes came around 15 minutes later. Can you see? Yes, prokaryotes kila orange line එකක් නේ, can you see? Beginning of prokaryotes. Yes. So that's how much time there is. How much of a gap? No one was there on earth completely, right? Palui. For billions of years, no one was there. Then prokaryotes came. Then you can see here a blue line starting, atmospheric oxygen began to form. Then you have a pink line, single celled eukaryotes. Some properly organized cells started to have. Then you have multicellular eukaryotes, sort of early algae, those kind of things started to occur. Then you got animals, simple animals. Usually this sort of fish came first, right? And before that there were cnidarians, early worms and those kind of things. Then reptiles came, right? Then colonization of land, plants and animals began to live on the land. Then you can see humans. How big is the humans out of a 60-minute? You can't even see, like in the print, right? Can you see the humans? It's almost less than 1 minute, ne? Right? I think it's considered about 10 seconds of the history of the earth compressed into 1 hour. Now, the time humans have lived on this earth is around 10 seconds out of these billions of years. Human, I mean the human species. So you can see how insignificant you are, ne? Right? 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 From the history of the earth will replace you with some other species very soon. There will be a massive extinction. Humans gone, will be replaced by someone else. Okay. Probably, yes, let's see. Okay. So natural selection thing, we'll talk about it later. Okay. What do you mean by natural selection? Natural selection simply means the best type will survive. Ne? If you have several types of cells that are being formed, the best cell with the proper organization will only survive. The other cells will be destroyed. That is natural selection. Survival of the strongest, survival of the best. Usually, what do you mean by natural selection? Right? So 4 steps. Read the first one. Atmospheric conditions of early Earth facilitated abiotic synthesis of small organic molecules such as amino acids and nitrogenous bases from inorganic molecules. Step 1. To make a biological molecule, what do you need? You need to make what? Small organic molecules from inorganic molecules, right? So you take some inorganic molecules, you convert it to small organic molecules, small, but so imagine you take in your liver and other thing, within your body you can make so many organic molecules, no? That is a biotic synthesis, no? Someone living is doing that. No? So on earlier there was no one living, right? So this formation of small organic molecules was completely done by what processes? Non-living processes. So that's why we call it, very important word, abiotic synthesis. First step. So what do you have now? Small organic molecules are there, right? Examples of small organic molecules, what do you have? Amino acids and nitrogenous bases. Amino acids and nitrogenous bases. Amino acids and nitrogenous bases. Okay, step 1 done. Go to next page. Polymerization of above small molecules leads to the formation of organic macromolecules. Small organic molecules you take, then what do you do? You simply polymerize them. You simply polymerize them to get what? Organic macromolecules. So the process is polymerization. What are the macromolecules you got? There's two examples given, no? Organic macromolecules, amino acids polymerized into proteins. What do you need to make a nucleic acid? Three things, no? Nitrogenous bases, sugars and phosphates. Okay. So, I want you to write down it here when you are writing this down, okay. So, what are the things you need to make proteins? You need amino acids. Then you take a N base, sugar and phosphate, and then you get nucleic acid. Okay. Okay, two steps done. Two steps are done. So actually, I didn't finish talking about this. No? Hurry. They ran this experiment with the atmosphere, sphere as well as the ocean for several weeks and months, providing this sort of electrical discharges in the atmosphere and then heating the ocean, right. They ran this experiment for several months, then they found out, okay, alright. So, they provided only the basic things, right. In this atmosphere sphere, they provided the things that you learnt about right now. They gave some methane, they gave some hydrogen, they gave a little bit of oxygen from the atmosphere, you know, they gave a bit of nitrogen and its oxides, they gave a bit of ammonia into the atmosphere. Then they ran this again and again. So, the whatever the molecules, they have a pumps, they have a pumps to send whatever the things that are in the atmosphere into the ocean. From the ocean, things that were boiling will be sent back to the atmosphere. Oh, this was running. Okay. Later they found out in the ocean certain molecules were forming. Basic organic molecules such as what? Amino acids, N bases, nitrogenous bases, small fragments of nucleic acids such as RNA were forming in the ocean, right. Not very complicated ones, small, right, very basic things that look like amino acids were starting to form, right. That happens randomly actually. So, some of the molecular bonds are breaking and they go back here and they combine here, then they come back here, they are broken again, right, are trying to build things by randomly. So, molecules are combining in different orientations and somehow randomly you are getting these kind of molecules, right. So, on the earlier there was enough time, no, billions of years were there. So, there was no rush. So, even in this mimic sort of model experiment, they found out it's possible. That is how they sort of now we are accepting the theory of biochemical evolution, right. So, keep that in mind. So, two steps done. Read the third step. Organic macromolecules were packed into membranes to produce protocells. Protocells is a very important word. Can you highlight? Organic macromolecules were packed into membranes. How did they arrange that electrical discharge? You have two electrodes with potential difference, no? You can have an electrical discharge. You will do that in the physics lesson, electrostatics, right? Capacitors, at Yenakang you will talk about those. Why you call those? There's a applied part. You learn about how actually lightning occurs in physics, right? There's you can calculate how much of a space as well as the voltage difference needed for a current to jump. Okay, I can't remember now. I have physics then long gone. Okay, right. Right, third step, hurry. Organic macromolecules, what happened to them? Packed into membranes, neither. To form a very important something called a protocell. What do you mean by a protocell? Proto. The word proto means what? Prototype. You have heard? What do you mean by prototype? Something before it's released to the market, you make a prototype. No? So, it's the cells or a beta version, right? Previous, the one that you don't release to the market, right? The proper cell is not there. It's like the trail of the cell, right? So the cell is beginning to form. So it's called the protocell. So the proper cell is not, has not arrived yet. Okay, packed into membranes to form what? Very important step in evolution, Hari, protocells. Can you highlight that word in your resource? Something nicely, box color, right? Okay. Protocells. Nucleic acids gain self-replicating capability which made inheritance possible for the cells. Okay, so we are going to talk about protocells a bit extensively, so I will just keep it there. Okay. Then the fourth step of biochemical evolution, nucleic acids gain self-replication ability. Right. So let's keep reading. Okay, we'll make a note. Origin of protocell. That's the next step. Okay. So protocell is a subtopic, very important subtopic we need to talk about. Okay. So you have a protocell. It's a big milestone in evolution. Okay. That means you are going in the correct path. You have something that is mimicking a cell. Haldane is a scientist. Okay. Keep reading. Suggested that early oceans were a solution of organic molecules called a primitive soup in which life arose. Okay. So before we move on to the protocell, we have to talk about the soup. What do you call, what is a soup? It's something that is liquid that contains all the nutritions you need. No, you get soup. When you are sick, you are given soup. Why is that? Because we think, I mean, usually it contains all the nutrients. No? So we say life originated in a very nutrient rich solution. That was the ocean actually. Right? So that was called as the primitive soup. They will ask, okay, structure is okay, they will ask, what is the primitive soup? So what is it? The early oceans. Okay. A solution of organic molecules. So there you had everything, all the ingredients you needed to make a cell. Early oceans had all the ingredients you needed to make a cell. Okay, so that's why we call it as a primitive soup. Very good nutritious solution. Hari? Recent studies related to volcanic atmosphere and alkaline vents show the abiotic synthesis of organic molecules. So that we talked about. Ne? So if you want to do some sort of a reaction, you need some energy source. No? So all those energy sources, energy was present in these high temperature conditions, alkaline vents. Yeah, and in the volcanic atmosphere around the volcanic opening, high temperature is there. Okay. Another source of organic molecules may have been meteorites. I told you. Someone would have sent a gift, right? You're taking too long, they directly sent you some nucleic acids and proteins. Okay. Speed it up by several billion years. Okay. Taking too long. Right. Directly, it could have arrived in a meteorite. We don't know. Okay. RNA accumulate into lipid bound vesicles and form protocells. Keep reading. Which exhibited enzyme catalyzed activities when were able to grow, replicate and evolve. Okay. Subtopic we have to write about protocells. What do you mean by a protocell? It's actually something very simple. Lipids, lipid molecules, you know, lipid molecules, they are hydrophobic, no, they don't like water. So they, in this early ocean, they form this sort of vesicles, okay, this sort of vesicles like this, spherical balls of lipids. In the middle of them, what did you have? In the middle of them, what did you have? Usually RNA, you started as the nucleic acid you started with was RNA, right? Because if you think about RNA, what do you have? Ribose, no? Ribose sugar. If you go to DNA, it's deoxyribose, which is sort of a derivative of ribose. So DNA came later. RNA was there first. So inside this protocell, what did you have? You had RNA. Okay, you had RNA, and this is a lipid vesicle. Okay, so we'll keep reading. Early genes and enzymes would have been RNA. Very important. Please highlight. Early genes and enzymes were RNA. So, can anyone tell me an RNA that is right now acting as an enzyme? An RNA that is acting as an enzyme even in your body? Right? An RNA that is acting as an enzyme? Yes, online people? An RNA acting as an enzyme? In this sort of structure, what do you have? This is rRNA, no? This is a ribosome composed of rRNA. Yeah. In the ribosome, what is happening? You are making chains of polypeptides, no? By making peptide bonds. So this formation of peptide bonds is actually catalyzed by the RNA itself. rRNA. So rRNA even in your body acting as enzymes. So in this early cells, RNA did everything. They stored information and they were also the enzymes. Got it? Did you highlight early genes and enzymes would have been RNA? These RNA molecules enabled self-replication of RNA. So, because they had enzymatic action built into the RNA, they were able to copy themselves. In the lesson molecular biology, we will talk about something called transcription. That means how RNAs are made. You will understand RNA are able to copy themselves very easily. That capability is something they got billions of years ago. Okay, still they are having it. Okay. Other molecules in the primitive soup are also collected in the protocell, right? You are just making something new, no? So, right? Whatever you have in the primitive soup, you put inside the protocell, right? Nobody is controlling, right? No one was there to control, right? Things are happening automatically. Somehow, natural selection in the best thing survived. We think the best thing survived, okay? Right? Let's see. Growth occurred by addition of lipids to the membrane by collision of vesicles. Yeah. So, how did this protocells grow? Mitosis? No, you didn't have something like that. When two of those such vesicles collided, you got a big one. That's it. Okay, you got a big vesicle when two vesicles collided. When that big vesicle got too big, it divided into two. Randomly, some RNA went to one, the remaining RNA went to the other one. Nothing was coordinated. Mitosis, nothing properly was happening. Okay. When the protocell became too large, it divided into two protocells with RNA included. Okay. So that's you need to know about the protocell. So this is the protocell, no? So this is RNA you have inside the protocell. Okay. Then what do you need to know about protocell? So this is the protocell section. Okay. I'll be writing things about the protocell from this point below. Right. Then what you need to know about the protocell is protocell growth. How did protocell growth occur? When they just collided, no? When two protocells just collided like this with another one. Okay, so they just crashed into each other and you got a big protocell. Okay, that is protocell growth. Then what is the next thing you need to know? Protocell division. Simply what? When they became too big, they just divide into 2. Okay, so you can say when too big, right? This is not complicated, right? They divided into 2. For billions of years, they were becoming bigger, then dividing, right? Things were happening randomly. Okay, no one else was there. Okay. When too big, they just divided into 2 with the RNA included. Okay, so all of these guys have RNA. Right? So we don't know how much of RNA went to the other one, how much of RNA went to this one. We don't know. Nothing is being properly regulated. Okay, so every one of these have RNA. Okay, this is RNA. So these guys have RNA as well. Okay, that's it. What else? So origin of protocell we talked about, and yes, I need you to remember RNA acted as genes. You can read, no, right? Online people, you can, yes, acted as genes as well as enzymes. Okay, acted as genes as well as enzymes, RNA. Okay, I'm talking about RNA here. So that is the protocell. So that's a big milestone in biochemical evolution. You have something that we can consider as a direct relative of a cell, protocell. Okay, so what I want you to do is it into 2 that they divide? I mean, it's not properly regulated, as I told you. Immediately after they divide into 2, this might divide into another 2 as well, right? So that depends on certain forces also. So if they are floating in the ocean, if they get sort of a physical force, that might sort of direct effect active, but they just divide randomly even when they are not too big, right? So even when they are too big, I mean when they are filled with everything that is found in the primitive soup got filled into the protocell, that is usually how they divided when they got too big, right? They might have divided randomly as well. Okay, we don't know. Okay, so what I want you to do is come to page number 1, start from the top, write down the topic, page number 1, below the diagram that we just wrote, write down theory of biochemical evolution. Then can you see there is a small diagram that I have given on the left side bottom? Yes, what does it say? Prokaryotes, no? Can you write at the bottom of this diagram? There is a diagram. Can you say there is a yellow prokaryotes? Write down there. Write down underneath the diagram. Life originated on Earth. Just one sentence, sorry, just one sentence, write down under there. Life originated on Earth 3.5 billion years ago. Life originated on Earth 3.5 billion years ago. Right. Then you wrote down the topic theory of biochemical evolution. So listen, the order you need to write down. So I started here and went this way. So I want you to go in that order, but proper order. First step of biochemical evolution, inorganic molecules underwent abiotic synthesis. I mean, by the process of abiotic synthesis, they were converted into small organic molecules, examples amino acids and nitrogenous bases. Step 2, small organic molecules underwent polymerization and converted to organic macromolecules. Write down the synthesis of proteins by amino acids, nucleic acids by nitrogenous bases, sugars and pentose sugar. Then jump here, write down under one after the other properly here. Organic macromolecules were packed into membranes to form protocells. Sort of circle it or something, this word protocell. Then finally, Final step of theory of biochemical evolution, nucleic acids gain self-replicating ability. So that is all theory of biochemical evolution, right? Okay. Then write down a small point primitive soup. What is a primitive soup? Early oceans were a solution of organic molecules where life arose. Okay, sorry, where life arose. Put a star mark or something and write down about the primitive soup. Then subtopic protocell. Subtopic protocell. Draw this diagram. Lipid vesicle with RNA in the center. RNA acted as genes as well as enzymes. Then under that protocell growth. When two protocells combine, you get a big one. Then protocell division. When the protocell is too big, divided into two. Okay. Methana, I want you to write down collision of vesicles. Okay, Methana, the growth by the collision of vesicles. Collision of vesicles, growth occurred. What is written under protocell division? When too big? When too big? You can't see it. Okay. Yeah, no, it's understandable. Right. When too big, they divided into two, RNA included. So there is nothing, there is no empty protocell, right? Everyone should get some amount of RNA. Protocell growth occurred by the collision of vesicles. Draw two vesicles and they are colliding and you get a big one. Yes, you can use the entire page. Good question. Okay, good question. You can use the entire page. I am good, right? That's all you have to write down in the page. Okay, I should say that always. No, yes. I'm also learning. This diagram tute concept I started with the 27 batch, but I sort of established as my main teaching with you guys. Okay, earlier I used to give a note for 26 as well as 25 people. That seemed useless now. Yes, of course. It's not a proper method of division. Yes, the method that they are dividing is completely random. Even the prokaryotes that you have right now, bacteria, they don't have mitosis. No, you know this. Bacteria, our prokaryotes right now, they don't divide by mitosis. They divide by something called binary fission, which is something actually kind of similar to this. Randomly they divide into two with some of the DNA given into one cell, water matter randomly allocated. Nothing proper like mitosis, right? So school started and again holiday, no? Very good. ඔගොල්ලොත් අර ශිෂ්‍යත්ව වෙලා දවස කට් එකක් ගහලා බයිසිකලයක් පැදලා ඉන්න, right? Wish we could go back to that time. Actually, if you guys have children one day, try to have have a son like that actually. Bicycle පැදලා කට් එකක් ගහන්, that's a simple life. Collect should have those kind of goals, right? Basically, do anything other than being addicted to screens. You will understand once you, you see it from like a third person perspective when you see how bad the screen addiction is. So because of screens, this small children develop they don't feel real emotions. Okay, they don't understand what is that it's bad to do something, what is sadness, what is happiness, even those kind of things they don't understand. This is wrong to do, right? They don't understand when a person is sad, okay, this person is sad. They don't feel emotions, right? Because they are completely desensitized by screens. They don't have human interaction. Okay, done. So protocell it's bound by a lipid vesicle and has RNA. RNA acted as genes as well as enzymes. Protocell growth was by collision of vesicles. Protocell division, when the protocell got too big, divided into two with RNA included. That basic idea, that's what I want you to take down there. Hari. Okay. Right, let's keep reading. Origin of photosynthetic organisms. Origin of photosynthetic organisms. Fossils of we are back in the resource, okay. First photosynthetic organisms, today's cyanobacteria, originated before 2.7 billion years ago. So, minimum do you have 2.7 billion years ago, the first photosynthetic organisms were produced. They were again also prokaryotic, okay. Bacteria, no? Just they were photosynthetic bacteria. Highlight first photosynthetic organisms, cyanobacteria, 2.7 billion years ago. As a result of photosynthesis, Fe2 plus ion were oxidized. Once all the dissolved ion had precipitated, additional oxygen dissolved in the water until the water bodies became saturated with oxygen. This ion story is a bit unnecessary, because of the oxygen that were being produced, the oxygen reacted with the Fe2 plus and iron oxides were produced, and those iron oxides settled into the ocean as well as got into the soil, iron oxides. Then afterwards, since more and more oxygen was being dissolved, there was no one else to oxidize, iron is over. They started to dissolve in the oceans. Okay. Water bodies became saturated with oxygen. Can you highlight? Water bodies became saturated with oxygen. The increase in photosynthetic bacteria contributed to the increment of amount of atmospheric oxygen, which accelerated the origin of chloroplast. Yes. So, it's like a cyclic process. Once a small amount of bacteria got the ability to photosynthesize, they start to produce oxygen. Slowly, the amount of oxygen increased. When the amount of oxygen is increasing, the photosynthesis start to accelerate further. Then, after billions of years, these photosynthetic bacteria became more specialized to do photosynthesis by, actually, I told you about this endosymbiont theory, right? How a eukaryotic cell got a chloroplast. There was a time a eukaryotic cell just ate another prokaryotic photosynthetic bacterium or something, and later that bacteria said, okay, I will live inside this. So, that photosynthetic bacteria became a chloroplast, no? Inside the eukaryotic cell. So, that is what they are saying. So, they would ask you, what accelerated the origin of chloroplast? Increment of amount of atmospheric oxygen. That is what you have to say. Okay. So, yeah. So, did you highlighted saturated with oxygen, no? Okay. Okay, let us keep reading. Origin of first eukaryote, okay, we will keep reading. Page number 73, okay. The fossils of first eukaryotic organisms were about 1.8 billion, formed from about 1.8, highlight. First eukaryotic, 1.8. These eukaryotic single cellular organisms later evolved into multicellular organisms. The appearance of structurally complex eukaryotic cells sparked the evolution of greater morphological diversity than was possible with simple eukaryotic cells. Because you know, the more complicated the cell is, there could be more and more varieties, no? If you have a very simple cell, there's a limited number of ways it can be different because the cell is simple. If the cells are complicated, they can be different in a large number of ways. Got it? So, when you have something complicated like a eukaryotic cell, because of their complexity, they are different because they are complex. So, that is what they are saying. So, as soon as the eukaryotic cells appeared, the diversity increased exponentially, massively started to increase. Got it? It was going very slowly up to this, then started to massively increase from the point you got eukaryotic cells. Okay. After the first eukaryotes appeared, a great range of unicellular forms evolved. Okay. It gave rise to diversity of some single cell eukaryotes which evolved into multicellular forms such as algae, plants, fungi and animals. Fossils of the oldest known protist similar to small red algae were dated as 1.2. Highlight protist. Okay. So, the protists evolved how long ago? 1.2 billion years. So, you don't protists are actually eukaryotes. Okay. Kingdom Protista will learn. Protists are actually eukaryotes. They are actually the simplest type of eukaryotes we can say, right? So, if you take eukaryotes, you have things like protozoa, amoeba, euglena, chlamydomonas, or you have, then of course, you have multicellular protists that are algae. You have seen algae, no, in the ocean, there are floating algae, red color, brown color, green color algae are there. So, algae are very simple multicellular eukaryotes. Okay. So, if you take an animal, they have tissues. You have muscle tissue, nervous tissue, skin tissue, epithelial, all those tissues are there. In this algae, you don't have that kind of tissues, but they are composed of more than one cell, actually millions of cells, right? But they are the simplest multicellular organisms that were first formed. They formed first before all these complicated plants, animals came. Okay. So, what we are going to do, come to page number 2, diagram tute. There are some space. Okay. We are not going to use the entire space. We are going to you can see there are 3 diagrams. First one, top left you have atmospheric oxygen, then top right you have single cell eukaryotes, then you have multicellular eukaryotes. So, that is all we are going to do today up to that. Okay. So, do not go below that. Do not go below multicellular eukaryotes because that is what we covered. No. So, next week we will go from animals into colonization of land, last 2 diagrams. So, do not go below multicellular eukaryotes. Sorry. Right. What is going to happen? We are going to make a small note. Sorry. So, next week we will be covering most of the history of evolution, right, and the theories of evolution will be covered with the history of evolution. So, people who avoided the term test, right, I hope they will watch the recording, right. I appreciate you guys being here today, right. Anyway, right. So, we will see. So, on the left side diagram is atmospheric oxygen. Okay. So, on there, actually on top of it, right, on top of the diagram that says atmospheric oxygen on top, bottom, right, near it. I want to write in front. Origin of photosynthetic organisms within brackets cyanobacteria timeline kiyada 2.7 billion years ago. Okay, so if you you wait until I finish. Okay, right. $2.7 billion years ago. Then what happened? What are the things that I want you to write down under this atmospheric oxygen story? What I want you to write down is Fe2 plus got oxidized. You need to write down these points, okay? When if they ask you the sequence of events of evolution of biological diversity, this is they can ask you how is the evolution of biological diversity happens. You need to write down these points, okay? Then got oxidized. Then what happened? Water bodies became saturated. Very important point, Hari. Water bodies became saturated with O2. That did what? Accelerated. Accelerated origin of chloroplast. Okay, then on the right side you have single cell eukaryotes. There's a diagram, it's usually like gray wage diagram, right? Single cell eukaryotes. Under that you can say what did you get first? 1.8 billion years ago, ne? I'll say BYA, okay? Billion years ago. Hari, 1.8 billion years ago. Underneath that you can write down. Okay. You can, I mean, it's not entirely necessary, but we'll just write it down. Evolution of, that's an important point actually, Hari. Evolution of structurally complex, eukaryotic cells sparked the evolution of greater morphological diversity. Then so that's under that diagram. Then there's the third diagram, multicellular eukaryotes. On the side of that, on the side of that you can write down. I'll just go with the orientation that you have in your resource, okay? Sorry, diagram too. Here you have a diagram that says multicellular eukaryotes. Multicellular eukaryotes. There I want you to on the side of it, side. $1.2 billion years ago. That's it. So listen again how you need to write it down. Don't go below multicellular eukaryotes, that diagram. Write everything above it. Okay. On the left side, atmospheric oxygen, origin of photosynthetic organisms, cyanobacteria. 2.7, underneath that write down Fe got oxidized, water bodies became saturated, that accelerated the origin of chloroplast. Then single cell eukaryotes 1.8 billion years ago origin. This point is an important point. Then the diagram below, multicellular eukaryotes, origin of protists, red algae 1.2 BYA, billion years ago. Hello people, writing, ne? Pay special attention to the time period, sir. So there are some interesting things to talk about. Lamarck's theory, right? Lamarck, right? So Lamarck thought how giraffes got their long neck. Okay. So you have to study those anyway. Then came Darwin. Yes. Darwin went on a massive cruise, right, around the world and came back and suggested we came from monkeys, right? Right. So okay, done. Then okay, so I won't go any further with the theory today, right? Question tutte chillage 1 or 2 questions we'll do, and then you slowly head home. Okay, right? Another 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. Page number 1, question tute. So first question, what was the eon that Earth originated? A. Then question number C1, what is the eon that oldest fossils? Slowly start doing that. The rest of the questions, what were the factors that facilitated to form life on Earth? How many years ago life was originated? Simple things. What is the theory used to describe the evolution of biological diversity? What were the sources facilitated for abiotic synthesis? What is a protocell? properties that are present in the protocell, genetic material present in the protocell, sorry, no need ions. Ignore the two questions about ions. Sorry, there's another C1 is about ions. Ignore that also. There is actually a old syllabus question. According to the new syllabus, you don't need to remember eons and eras. What happened, right? I mean, edited resource, it says you don't need to remember eons and eras. That's why you don't need to do. Okay, so once the papers have been checked, the discussion will be held online. Okay, so I'll ask with both batches to decide on a time. Probably Monday evening when we had flash recaps. You guys are free, no? Monday evening free, no? Anyone who can't join maybe at around 6 p.m. for the papers, the paper you had, the discussion of the paper you had. Unable to join live? Can, no? The time you had flash recaps. So definitely this not this Monday. Probably not next Monday also. Next Monday maybe. I'll let you know in the groups because I have to check around. I don't know how many papers today. Around 35 papers are here today. No? Then there's another 45 or something from Negombo. So then there's online. So, all of those have to be checked now. Therefore, it might take some time. So, afterwards we will have a common online discussion of the paper. Okay, probably not this next Monday, the afterwards Monday. Say link will be sent. Right? Okay, right. I think you can complete the rest at home. Yeah. Ne? Other today you had enough writing. Ne? Yeah. We'll discuss it first thing next class. Bring the practical guideline book next week. I mean, my tute, okay? Question and practical book from the previous lesson. There's a small practical we need to do. Online people don't throw it away. Right? The question tute from the second lesson. Have it with you next week. We are going to do a small practical. And yeah, we are going to go ahead with evolution. So, if you didn't complete this first page of the evolution question tute, complete it at home. Right? Online people. So, I will end the meeting there for today. Any questions?